The team that is going to shock everybody in the SEC. We answer that next. Locked on Bulldogs.
You are Locked on Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Locked On Bulldogs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. He, of course, is Clint. I am Daniel. Today's episode brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. More on them later, but you can go to FanDuel.com to get in on the action. Clint mentioned it. We're going to be asking each other questions today. He's got a question. We're going to be talking about teams that are going to shock in the SEC. We're going to be talking about players on Georgia's roster. We're going to go through the gamut of questions. Before we do, let us just say a quick thank you. Thank you if you're an everydayer. If you're here each and every day. If you're a first listener, you make us your first listen of the day. We appreciate that quite a bit. And of course, if you listen all the way to the end, a loyal third segment listener, part of the 199, we're thankful for you. And heck, Clint, we're thankful if you're just a subscriber to the podcast. We're thankful if you just tiptoed on over and you found us either on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or maybe you found us on YouTube. If you want to just click subscribe or follow there, that would help us out a tremendous amount. Little things like that go a long way for us. And it's we're here each and every day of the off season. And Clint, this just in, the off season is getting shorter and shorter by the moment. Like we're nearly into July at this point. Oh, yeah. And Georgia football begins in August. And so fall camp is right around the corner. There's plenty to talk about. But as I mentioned, we're going to jump back in to questions. As a reminder, if you've got burning questions that you want to have us answer this offseason, feel free to reach out either on Twitter at Dawgs Podcast or send us an email, lockdownbulldogs@gmail.com. Clint, what is your first question for me today?
Here's my first question, Daniel. It was a little bit surprising to me because I did not. I went a little rabbit trail.
Okay.
And I did not anticipate finding out what I found out about one of our favorite stats that proves definitively the least achieving team, the lowest achieving team last year in college football was Alabama. And you can fight whoever you want to fight, because I have looked at the composition ratings of roster talent. 2024, the number one team in the nation was Alabama. Number one team the previous year, Alabama. Daniel, do you see a trend happening with the talent composition of the teams? Okay, great.
But then what about the results?
Well, I was going to go 2022, 2024, 2023, 2022. The number one team talent composition, which takes all the 5 4-star guys on a roster, puts them all together and says, here's the most talented team based on our own evaluations, was Alabama. 2022, Alabama. Daniel, it's staggering to me how low achieving a team with the most talent can be, and yet how much they want to pump their chests. So I did a little diving. I started looking at other teams that talent composition wise were doing great. Okay. Yeah. And here's a couple notable teams that showed up on this radar. Okay. Number 3 and 4 each year, Texas A&M. Daniel, A&M outside this last year, they were 10th, but years before that, they were 7th and 4th. I'm going to name another team for you in the last couple of years and just see. I gave you A&M already. I'm going to follow this up with a team that could shock, that might be underperforming. And I'm going to ask you, Oklahoma, last year, 7th talent composition. 2022, 9th, top 10, we're talking here. 2023, the year in between sandwich, 9th as well. Oklahoma has been in the top 10, A&M, top 10, LSU, top 10, not just SEC. I'm talking all of college football. Daniel, LSU, Oklahoma, as well as A&M. Any of those teams, because they have the talent, can make a run for the SEC this year. Who is the most shocking, or who's the most likely out of those three to make a run this year in the SEC, Daniel?
Well, I'll tell you, I didn't know I was going to get multiple choice on this. And it's funny, we've been doing this podcast for a minute, Clint, and I wouldn't wish this on anybody, but we are very similar. And so it is a cross that we both have to bear. But you won't be shocked to learn that when I thought I was just going to be asked, of all 16 SEC teams, who is most likely to come out of nowhere and shock you, I had one of those three teams right on the tip of my tongue that I was ready to talk about. And so I'll just go ahead and tell you, I already told you I'm not buying LSU. I'm not a believer in what Brian Kelly is going to have in Baton Rouge. Not to say that they won't be good, but I think the expectations at LSU are very high for this upcoming season. But you look at a team like Oklahoma, Clint, and the expectations coming off a really tough year last year, a baptism by fire into the SEC, did not have a favorable schedule, did not have a favorable season in terms of wins and losses. But you look at what they did in the offseason, Clint. Obviously, you got John Mateer at quarterback, a guy that I think both you and I like a lot.
Yeah, I do.
Transfer portal, Clint, they bring in Jaden Ott, a guy that you and I both like a lot. And then you look at the schedule for Oklahoma. They get Michigan at home early in the year.
Uh-huh.
I think they're going to beat the brakes off Michigan in that game. I don't think Oklahoma's probably going to be unranked going into that game in Norman. And I think Michigan's going to roll in there, and I think they are absolutely going to get pounded by the Oklahoma Sooners, by Brent Venables and this squad. And I think it's going to put all of a sudden, I think the nation is going to wake up a little bit to Oklahoma. Listen, I'm not going to tell you that they're going to beat Texas this year, but Illinois State, Michigan at home, Temple, Auburn at home, Kent State. Oklahoma is 5-0 going into the Texas game, Clint. There are 5-0. That's pretty close to a stone cold lock for me with them. And then after the Texas game, they get on the road at South Carolina. Okay, maybe a plucky team. Yeah. Ole Miss at home. On the road at Tennessee is a tough game. On the road at Alabama is a tough game. But then they finish the season Missouri at home, LSU at home. I think 10 wins is on the table for Oklahoma. I think the college football playoff is on the table for the Oklahoma Sooners. I've been thinking this all offseason, and it just feels like people are talking about Florida. People are talking about Tennessee. People are talking about, obviously, they're talking about Georgia. They're talking about Alabama. They're talking about Texas. People are talking about Texas A&M. People are talking about LSU. I don't hear a lot of people talking about the Oklahoma Sooners, Clint. I think that's the team for me that could really surprise some people. They're not going to be the best team in the SEC.
No.
But they might be the most shockingly good team in the SEC.
Oklahoma can play defense. Okay? Like the trenches are secure. Mateer comes over. I expect actually pretty good things. Ott from Cal, again, everybody in the SEC don't know what this cat brings. We
wanted him bad.
I wanted him badly.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma gets him. Why? Well, because that boy going to get a lot of carries, a lot of look, and a lot of run. Yeah. You're telling me a team in the SEC that can play great defense, and they have a lot of good players on defense, just stacked on defense.
Yeah.
And have sorted out with a top 5 running back in the nation. You heard me.
Yeah.
Watch out for Oklahoma. Talent is there. Brent Venables, question mark. I don't know if you can coach or not. I have no idea. Brent, we about to find out. This year is kind of like a Lane Kiffin year for Oklahoma in my understanding of what they're doing. Mm-hmm. Daniel's going to ask me a burning question, and I may completely get it backwards and ruin some dog's life here after he asks me next after these. but these are, in fact, FanDuel. FanDuel's fantastic. Daniel, I love them. NBA playoffs are in full swing. I don't know if you know
for
this,
another 2 days.
For another 2 days, because Daniel's Pacers have said, let's roll out.
I had them in 6. Maybe they'll get it in 7. Maybe they'll get it in 7.
Whether it's gaming shot or breakout player, there's never been a better time to get on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. Player props, performance trends, game time parlays are fantastic. More ways for you to get in the action. Look, here's the deal. Would you rather me tell you that Shai Alexander is going to go ahead and pop off for over 35? Well, guess what? You can go ahead and say, yeah, I really do think he can. Bet the over on that. It's a fairly simple process. FanDuel's there for you. New to FanDuel, it's a perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first dollar bet. If it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Clint, don't ruin anybody's life. Nobody needs.
I'm not trying to, Daniel.
Aren't you? Are you not?
Well, maybe
some, not all.
Some. That's true. That's true.
Not all. Okay. I'm gonna parlay off your first question, and then I'm gonna bring it home to Georgia's roster. I want you to think offense, and I want you to think the University of Georgia's 2025 roster. Okay. And I'm basically gonna ask you the same question about players.
Okay.
Who is the player that has a chance to come, I won't say out of nowhere, because you'd be very hard pressed to mention a name that would come literally out of nowhere for us.
Correct.
But let me say a name that it would be insane right now for you to say he's in the top 3 offensive players on Georgia's roster.
I see what you're doing here.
But at the end of the season, you could see a scenario where we say, there's no doubt in my mind, he's one of the top 3 offensive players on Georgia's roster. Who is your biggest threat to be an underdog and kind of rise up the ranks this year on offense?
All right. We're going to do this like we do every single time. We're going to process together on this because I think to do this well, offensive linemen are kind of out of it because right now, again, I can't name the top 3 offensive linemen. So
let me give you a little caveat. If one of these tackles has an Andrew Thomas-like year,
okay, I hear you.
Then I think that would fit because right now we're like, I don't know what we have out of Monroe Freeling. I don't know what we have out of Ernest Green. But if one of them like says, hey, forget about last year. I'm coming in here and I'm going to absolutely stonewall some people for 12 straight games or 15 straight games, I think they would fit the bill.
Yeah. Okay. Then in that case, I do need to add one offensive line player to that, Daniel.
Okay.
And I think it could fit the category of maybe a Jordan Hall type situation. This guy in Jordan Hall might
invoking a name now.
I'm invoking a name because if you're not aware, Jordan Hall is on the tip of our tongue for a player that no one's talking about that you will be like. He will be in that conversation for the best player on Georgia's defense at the end of the year. And trust us, we know all the defensive players we have. Like we're very aware that this defense could be more reminiscent of 21 and 22 than 23, 24. So, okay, we get it. All right. So let me give you the people that I think we've hit the Gunnar Stockton mule. I mean, we have just
that's not a candidate.
It's not a candidate. We've banged on that drum. I don't know why people think that Austin Simmons has a better shot than Gunnar Stockton. I'm going to give you 3 names of potential. Okay. One, Ernest Green, a top 50 player in the nation at the time when he came to Georgia, sat behind a bunch of dudes, had some indication of some injury early on in camp last year, maybe a lingering problem, but he was the one that Kirby Smart trusted to come in to the game at Notre Dame and replace Monroe Freeling, who was having some trouble. I think his skill is better than Xavier Truss. I think he now has another year. I think they have a lot, especially if he starts at left tackle. If we come out game 1 and he's at left tackle for us. Monroe Fairlane flips to the other side.
And I think he will be. That's my gut. I don't know, but that's my gut.
That's my gut as well. I think it will be. And I think all of a sudden it skyrockets for me after that. The second name I'm going to give you that he could be a top 3 guy in our offense. And he's the newest to this offense, but Josh McCray could be a bona fide dude.
Spicy. I like this.
When all is said, like, again, Big Ten runner, big bodied guy. Y'all remember Deshaun Edwards? Like when we needed a 13 play drive where he just got 6 yards a carry and he was the dude that we took. And I remember that still vividly in my mind every single time, just saying, run it again, run it again, run it again, run it again. It was magical. I think he has more consistency than Deshaun as well this year. It wouldn't shock me if he actually was competing with Nate Frazier in the backfield for carries. That wouldn't shock me at all. And then the last player I'm going to go ahead and add to this list of he's bona fide, might be the best dude on our entire offense, is not Oscar Delp, but it's in the same position.
Oh, no.
It wouldn't shock me.
Okay.
If Rydell all of a sudden just came out and said, I'm better than everyone else. I am bigger. I am big O size. And he's not quite Washington size, but he's more that size than not. He's got more.
Sure.
And I think a lot of question marks. I think a lot of foot out Oscar Delp, a lot of the Carson Beck. If a new guy, a fresh face with all the wide receiver going on and all of that nonsense on the outside in the good sense, taken up headspace of defensive coordinators and defensive minds. This is a name that I'm pulling way from down deep, that I'm not talking the Zachariah Branch. I'm not talking the Colby Young, the Noah Thomas. I expect big things out of them. And they're top 3. Like, okay, great. Yes. But if you're telling me Rydell is out there just dunking on folk in the end zone, just wide receiver slip screen off to the right with a convoy in front of him, galloping 50, 60 yards. Okay, Oscar Delp's great on the seam. Lawson Lucky, pretty good blocker, pretty good inline guy, all of that. But the athleticism that I've seen of recruiting in him that nobody's talking about really, really thrills me and really gets me going. So out of those 3, Daniel, the leader in the clubhouse for me, that could be, is Josh McCray.
Wow.
I mean, the more I think about this, the more I look, the more that he's not going to be Judkin over at Ohio State. Like, he was part of a 1-2 punch, but could it be more like that than not? Yep. I really do think he could be. And could we ride that to a national championship? Yep. I really do think we can.
Is our quarterback this year better than Ohio State's quarterback last year? Yep.
1,000%.
So if we get that running game going, absolutely.
And what has Kirby said? Again, I go where the man said. If you can't in economics, you can't fight the Fed. Okay, if you don't know what that is, go Google it and figure it out and follow with it. You can't fight Kirby. So if he says, "I will be better stopping the run," Jordan Hall, I will be better running the rock. Yep, the 2 names, Frazier and McCray. We already know Frazier has talent. Josh McCray comes in and, oh boy, Daniel, we looking pretty. That's my name that needs to be on more lips. Daniel?
I don't hate it. I love it, actually. Clint's got one more question for me. Will it be about an underdog of some kind? Time will tell right after these.
All right, Daniel. These are, it's very simple. We know Kirby Smart is very gifted at many things.
I'm familiar.
We also know that of late, I have seen article, X post, social, just clickbait.
Please, God, click me.
Talking about the loss that Georgia's incurring.
It's catastrophic.
The way he can't keep up with NIL.
No, we're getting people are running circles around us.
Running circles. So I just quickly want to update on that and then ask you a question. Let's quickly go on over to the list of commits that Georgia has.
Oh, you're saying there's empirical data to prove or disprove said clickbait?
This is what I'm telling you.
Well, that's fascinating.
It's fascinating. Currently, Georgia holds the number 2 recruiting class in the entire nation, not the SEC, the entire nation. He currently has, of that football commits, 27 commits, 5 5-stars and 20 4-stars. I'm going to go ahead and list the teams that have more 5-stars than Kirby Smart currently.
Go ahead.
I did, Daniel. I listed.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was waiting for you to do it.
Nope, I did it. There's no others. I'm going to go ahead and list the number of teams that have more 4-stars than Kirby Smart.
Oh, okay.
No, I did it again, Daniel. You missed it. It's the second time.
It doesn't hold up on audio. What we're doing here? Like, no, because people think their device is cut out.
No, don't worry. Don't worry. Your device is still operating just fine. Kirby Smart has 5 5-stars, 20 4-stars. People are tied with him. Daniel, I ask you simply, in this NIL era, with the commits that Kirby Smart is doing, the shutdown in recruitment that is happening, when they are committing, even, Daniel, and the number of top at their position by which they're doing so, I simply want to say to you, is Kirby Smart going to be who threatens Kirby Smart to be a better recruiter than him at this moment right now? Who's the closest that threatens him? Because all the clickbait says he's lost control. He hasn't lost control. Who is it that's going to go ahead and upstage him, Daniel?
I want to ask a clarifying question before I answer.
Yeah.
Because based on your answer to this question, my answer might surprise a lot of people.
Okay, great.
We're talking about like looking at a recruiting class on 24/7 or on 3 or wherever. Like, we're talking about looking at a recruiting class. Right. So like 2026 or 2027.
That's exactly right. So I gave you 2025. I gave you this year's crop. I can go 2026 and give you the ones. I can give you the people that were last year. The ones I had told you: Texas, Alabama, Oregon, Ohio State, Michigan are in that contention. Next, the 2026 cycle, USC is currently sitting at 1. A&M, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Clemson, Penn State. So the juxtaposition between 2025 and 2026, the two consistents, I should say, is Kirby Smart at Georgia and Ohio State. Everybody else is rearranged.
So that's the stipulation that I think you have to answer. Who threatens Kirby to get the number 1 class in the country? I think there are probably 25 names of schools that I could list. Certainly Texas and Oregon and Ohio State and Alabama and even Michigan, Penn State, Texas A&M, Ole Miss. Like, I could probably name easily 20 to 30 schools that threaten Kirby Smart to acquire the number 1 recruiting class in any individual recruiting cycle, right? But what I cannot do, Clint, is give you the name of a program that is going to sustainably sit with Kirby Smart for the long term, right? Like, you might be able to run with him for a few 100 feet.
Sure. Or sprint's a lot easier than a marathon.
Yeah. But the thing is that that pace that he's running right now, he's prepared to continue to run it year after year after year after year. There are going to be what NIL does is it is going to flatten the recruiting landscape to a certain extent. It is going to open the door for more programs to sign more 5-star and 4-star players than ever before. Correct. Because programs like Vanderbilt have the option now to absolutely leverage their capital and go after some big names. Well, programs like Mississippi State have the same opportunity. And certainly the programs with the big budgets like Alabama and Oregon, Ohio State and Michigan and Texas A&M and Penn State and whatever, and USC and all, lots of schools. They have the opportunity to do the same. NIL is going to flatten to some extent the recruiting landscape, but that's not going to hurt Kirby Smart in terms of, because recruiting is going to be the same question that we've always asked. Who can stack elite classes together for year after year after year? Because college basketball, like college football, is not college basketball, Clint.
Nope.
In college basketball, you can ride one class to a national championship, right?
Instantly, too. You just get that class, come in next year, you could win the whole thing.
Snag a couple transfer portal guys, one recruiting class, and hello, Carmelo Anthony, we win a national championship. Like that's it. This is college football. You need 3 to 4 sustained elite classes, and then you need to win the transfer portal, meaning you don't lose guys and you do pick up key additions to fill holes on your roster. Kirby Smart is the only name in the game that has proven he can do that. Now, could Dan Lanning rise to that challenge? He could at Oregon. And to be honest, he's probably the guy that threatens me the most. Could Steve Sarkisian rise to that challenge at Texas? God knows he's got enough money and he's got enough. Do I actually respect Mike Elko as a football coach for the first time in the history of Texas A&M's football program? I do. And so there are certainly names like that are threats. Ryan Day obviously is a threat. He gets the national championship last year, gets that monkey off his back. And, time will tell what's going to happen at Alabama with their South Dakota State Championship coach. But I think Kirby Smart is, without a doubt, at this moment, the only coach currently in college football that has proven to you that in this current landscape, he can sustain. You just read off the stats. That's it. Ryan Day is his only compatriot. He's the only person who has proven he's even on that level. And so, I don't expect to see a college football playoff without Georgia in it anytime soon. And I don't expect to see a college football playoff without Ohio State in it anytime soon. Meanwhile, Texas or Alabama, we saw last year, Michigan, Oregon, I don't know. Like, time will tell on those guys, but nobody threatens Kirby Smart, Clint.
This is a very look. The Braves have broken my heart this year, and I'm still not over it. They have taken the only joyful they've taken the only joy I find in summer, and they have ruined it. Okay, I hate summer for all the other reasons except for baseball, and they've ruined it. However, I'm going to harken back to, could Dan Ugla back in the day get a hold of one and absolutely,
listeners, we're 29 minutes in. How was I supposed to see it coming that he was going to say Dan Ugla's name?
You couldn't. Lincoln Riley and Dan Ugla, real similar. Okay. Could USC rattle off that comparison one class that just knocks it out of the park? You can. But you know who Chipper Jones is? You know the man who is just steady.
Just the Greg Maddux, the freaking Greg Maddux of college football.
I'm going to paint the corner. I'm going to go 92 pitches, and it's going to take me 2 hours to get through this game. Don't worry. Every time I'm on the mound, 3 runs, just get me 4. We're fine.
Has anyone seen Lincoln Riley's forearms lately to confirm that they are, in fact, the size of watermelons? Like, that would be what I would need to see.
Dan Ugla kept the buttons down here, not because he wanted to, but because it couldn't.
That was a requirement. That was a requirement.
Couldn't button all the way up.
Yeah.
You're exactly right, Daniel. There's nobody. There are a lot of candidates. Dan Lanning, probably the closest one. Day at Ohio State being the most consistent, but they're going to keep flipping all over the place. Kirby's going to be top 5 every single year. He is Daniel. I am Clint. This is Locked On Bulldogs, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every single day, and we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.